basically.
I got worse as I got older.
Paul is mad at you.
No,
I
I'm
bet
not.
she is.
I'm not.
She just said that.
Line dances can party just about any time.
Yeah, I'd say it's a special day for that, dude.
No, we're gonna have a little review of what this meeting is and just.
Well, depends. I think so.
Okay, it's, these clocks are 15 seconds behind, but so we'll wait until, it's 8:30. I'm calling the joint animal control meeting to order. I think we need to review, some of the purposes of this. This is the joint animal control board meeting. We will be civil and respectful to each other. It is the meeting of the board discusses things and does that. This is a public meeting. However, according to the open meeting law, citizens have the right to attend and observe, but it does not require the government body to allow members to speak or actively participate. So this is a committee meeting, committee discussion. However, the public has the right to be here and observe, but not necessarily to participate. It is not required, but it does grant the government body to set aside some of the public meeting, the open meeting, to have public comment, which we do. We have that on the agenda and everything, limited to 5 minutes per person. Since it's on there, you may speak about, basically, I will allow this time anything, but normally it's related to the agenda items on there. And just so you know, the public does not have participation rights. Again, you're more of an observer, so you can see how decisions are made and what's going on here. But we do allow public comment. Again, just a reminder that we are limiting the time to each speaker. And again, to conduct this meeting in a civil and respectful way to each other, I will call upon you when it's your turn to speak or anything like that. So with that said, a reminder of what the purpose of our roles are, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from October 19th.
So moved. Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on that? Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes from October 19th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, this is the public comment time. You'll be limited to 5 minutes each. Does anybody want to speak?
May I ask a question first though? Could we possibly have the podium to speak at, because I feel much better, I have a piece of paper and I don't wanna be going like this. No,
Yeah. We will also
Thank
give
you.
a mic so everybody can hear.
thank you.
Okay, this is a time for public comment. Does anybody wish to comment? Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, I'm, is this on? Yes, it is, okay. I'm Paula Carroll, and these comments are strictly personal. The animal shelter, Friends of the Animal Shelter will say something during that part of the agenda. But first thing I wanna say is congratulations to to you for running a low-kill shelter and getting a national award for being good at what you do. And it's interesting that that award will come just, I don't know, a month, 2 months, before now you're gonna discuss a no-kill policy, after you got an award for being a low-kill, a nationally awarded low-kill shelter. The second thing I wanna say is, that Terry, you mentioned that the purpose here for the public is to see how decisions are made. And so as a public, I wanna tell you that I was very disappointed in how no decision was made, at the personnel committee about your job description. And that several members of the personnel committee wouldn't even second the motion. And seconding a motion, as I think you know, does not mean you approve it, it just means it's opens up for discussion. So that says that our county board members, who are supposed to represent us, were not even open-minded enough to open the subject up to discussion. That is very disappointing as somebody, as a member of the public. My third comment as a member of the public is that I'm absolutely against having a kill shelter. You can't even call it a kill shelter, then you probably have to call it a kill facility. And secondly, as long as we can offer a safe and humane place for the animals to live, I'm against having a time policy. So, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak from the public? Aaron?
Aaron Webster from Bruce. The situation of wanting loose dogs picked up by the shelter staff and having citations issued more thoroughly sure has escalated quickly to considering to kill the animals for space. Why doesn't your agenda have the legal issues that could be discussed and changed? Instead of remedying the real issue, this committee is actually considering being heavy-handed as well. I see the abuse of power has infiltrated this committee as well, and that is very sad. And it's interesting to see that we have the TV here, and yet we don't have the actual person here who has brought this forth. That's very sad as well. And maybe he can't stand up to being seen on television and his behavior. What is the average stay for the animal shelter, cats or dogs? The number of cats stored all over the building aren't just the same animals month after month, are they? Much is getting flung around on Facebook that the shelter needs to charge less, blaming the shelter staff rather, instead of this committee or the full board. Going further than that, this committee just raised rates higher than most people would even know about at this time. As if it's the shelter manager's fault and poor management by her. A few people related to those in this organization are making claims that deals aren't given to adopt animals, that measures aren't tried to get more animals adopted, that there is failure at the shelter, and that is why there are 40+ cats living in the storage room and elsewhere. Is this true? Is that your assessment as a member of this committee and a member of the full county board, that the shelter staff is the reason we have all the cats in the building, and that she, as the shelter manager, is not doing her job to get these animals adopted? I'll posit that if anyone really wants anything done at the shelter, especially if they want things done differently, the Rusk County Board needs to fund a part-time position to a full-time position. That would require the board members who want to feel powerful stop abusing their power and do what is in the public's best interest and following their wishes. How much does an animal at the shelter get invested into it when only then to be killed a few months later? Where did that money come from to invest in that animal? Public donations? Fundraisers by other people in the community? Grants? The taxpayers? How much does it cost to kill an animal? What is the cost to kill, store, and keep them until they can be disposed of? Do we have the space for freezers if we implement a new policy like this, which is kill for space? The Rusk County Board as a whole likes to make decisions on short-sighted emotions, which does no good for the people you are to serve and those others that you are tasked with concerning yourself with, such as the welfare of animals. You will find people who don't like animals, don't care how they are treated, or only see the option as caring for people versus caring for animals. However, as a group, I do not believe that this community, Rusk County, would be in favor of anything such as this kill for space standard as policy. And financially, it wouldn't seem to make sense and needs hard data to prove that it should even be considered. Shelter animals are all fixed when they go home with someone. Those animals are not reproducing and adding to the number of unwanted kittens or puppies. There are local programs funded by different donor sources that help people to get their animals fixed. In the last 6 years or so, the community has come to love a functioning animal shelter. For all the good intentions of staff at the old shelter, that building was terrible. Someone on Facebook said that it's no life for an animal to live at that shelter, the new shelter, for very long. We used to let them live in the conditions of the old shelter. Remembering the old shelter should make us all pause. A new shelter is thanks to donors and their push to get the county and city to build a new facility to operate better for this community. The same donors are willing to fund a cat room addition. We should be singing the praises of people like that. And yet we have a board member who is ready to see the whole system get destroyed to get what his or his constituent wants. I hope this committee can seriously do the task of the people rather than the bidding of the loudest voices in the room. I will stand by the idea that this community doesn't want animals to be killed. At the start of the property meeting a few months ago, I heard Terry Wedwick say the same. People won't stand for the animals to be killed. And I sure hope as a committee that you stick by those words and you act accordingly.
Here, here.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment?
Of course, yes.
Okay, Joanne?
Joanne Spooner from Conrail. There are a lot of specific issues we can talk about, but I guess I'd like to look at the big picture of the time limit policy for shelter animals. Some people don't like dogs, and some people don't like cats, I get that. But a majority of people have some kind of a pet or pets and love them like family. Pet animals can provide love, companionship, playful fun, therapy, reduce blood pressure and stress levels, assist disabled people, or work. They are of value to human beings. And we humans, in turn, are responsible for providing care for our animals and pets. Most shelters are humane associations. Our shelter provides good care for animals when humans are no longer able to or have failed to take care of their pets. Dogs and cats don't end up at this shelter because they made bad choices and should be punished with a death sentence if they live beyond a certain time limit. They end up at the shelter because of the choices people make. The real problem is human issues, be it unfortunate circumstances, laziness, meanness, poverty, or ignorance. People die leaving a pet behind, or move and won't or can't take a pet, or don't bother or can't afford to spay or neuter a pet, or let a whole bunch of cats live and breed on their farm and some of those cats stray to breed elsewhere, or breed dogs for profit without getting them licensed or rabies vaccinated and possibly dumping pups they are not able to sell. Just what is the motivation for proposing a time limit for shelter animals? Why is there suddenly a focus on negative solutions after animals end up at the shelter? Our shelter just received a no-kill shelter award for exceeding a 90% save rate. That means the animals are being fed, vaccinated, fixed, and adopted out on a regular basis. The desire for a cat room addition is not because there are so many more darn cats coming in. The shelter has never really provided quite enough adequate space for the regular number of incoming cats. There has often been a cat cage in the laundry room or hallway. Cats are housed in a storage room with no windows or ventilation, and there are not enough separate areas for the sick and special needs. Wanting proper and humane space for our shelter cats does not equal we need to kill cats to make space for the next cats coming in. The county may spend around $43 million that will be levied on the taxpayers to build a new jail to increase inmate beds by 33, when it hasn't exceeded its 52 bed limit in the past years. It has not exceeded its space capabilities. The Animal Shelter Committee and community members are making positive efforts to get donor funding to build a cat room addition for much needed space and to not levy the cost on taxpayers. County board members should appreciate this effort to save the county money, and they should not complain that the addition would cost more in heat, lights, or maintenance. Those expenses are a drop in the bucket compared to $43 million. So rather than making a negative kill for space policy, let's focus on positive solutions such as education, prevention, financial support, and enforcement. Remind the public how often cats can have kittens and reproduce the population exponentially. Promote the importance of spaying and neutering pets, and support residents as much as possible that need financial help to fix their pets. Prevention, not euthanization. Review or possibly change regulations about the number of pets or kennel licenses an individual can have. Be willing to finance extra staff needed to more efficiently enforce regulations and licensing, write warnings and citations, and deal with complaints. Let's work harder at making people do the right thing so the animals don't end up paying the ultimate cost. Thank you for your time.
Any more public comments? Anybody else? Yes?
Good morning. My name is Jeff Lende. I have been a generous donor to this cause for a number of years, and I'm very disturbed to hear about the comments made earlier, as in weeks earlier. And I would like to second on what she just said about promoting spaying and neutering. This needs to be maybe more of a larger campaign on the radio, in the newspaper, something. I mean, we all know it's there, but not everybody knows it's there. And I feel it needs to get a little more bolstered to reach more people. Because I was quite disturbed thinking, okay, I've been putting thousands of dollars a year to this for a number of years, and this is what's happening. That's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else for public comment?
I'm not a very good public speaker, so this sign says it all.
Okay, please state your name and who you are.
My name's Kathleen Chisholm. I used to volunteer at the shelter when Mike Gardner was the shelter manager. Tuesday nights, there would be stacks of animals outside the shelter. It was horrible to see, just absolutely horrible. I want to know, how many animals have you guys adopted at the shelter? Anybody? 2?
Yes.
Okay, I've adopted 7. I think everybody should advocate for animals in this county, just like I do. Every day you wake up and you advocate for them.
Can somebody read what's on there? I mean,
Can you just read what it says?
Can you read your
Just
sign,
what it says.
or have somebody?
What?
They want to kill animals in Russ County. Please support a no-kill shelter. Call your local county or city representative to tell them your support.
okay,
I'm hanging these all over the county.
Okay, good.
All over.
okay,
It says, please,
thank you.
no-kill shelter.
Anybody else for public comment?
Yeah, we don't want no-kill shelter.
Again, anybody else for public comment? Any more public comments? Okay, then I will close public comment, and moving on to the agenda. Fracas, is there any report from Fracas?
Yes, and first of all, I'll start out, there's a typo on there because it says, please support a no-kill shelter. You don't want them to support a no-kill shelter. So
Yes,
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 no kill.
no kill.
Right.
Yes, no
Oh,
kill.
no-kill, okay, oh,
Oh,
see,
I thought it was saying no
yeah,
kill.
whoa, okay, I'm freaking out here.
No,
Okay.
no.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so now what I'm, yeah, sorry about that, I read it too fast.
No,
This-
you're
this is-
fine.
What I'm gonna tell you is the way our group feels, but I'm gonna tell you a story that you probably don't know. Catherine knows a little bit about it, but about 45 years ago, maybe a little more, there was a mailman by the name of Richard Billmeyer. He had a Chihuahua. And what the city had for, the county had nothing. The city had, a couple of outdoor pens with very crude dog houses and very poor fencing, and then they had a Quonset hut that they used for storage. And in there were a couple of pens made out of chicken wire. And there was no water and no heat in this building. Well, Dick's dog got out in the winter and was picked up by the police department, and they put it in there. That dog froze to death. That basically was the beginning of the Friends of the Animal Shelter. Because when people heard that, naturally they were very upset, and a meeting was held at the courthouse to get people involved in the animal shelter. Okay, move forward a little bit. We had volunteers, and we would go down there and feed and water the animals. Well, one of the things, and this has to do with being a kill shelter, is, with only 2 pens, we got overloaded with dogs. And so one time there was a group of, and I wanna say there were about 6-month-old puppies, and I wanna say there were 4 to 6 of them. I can't really remember, cause like I say, this was over 40 years ago. And, we didn't have any place for them or what to do with them. And I talked to the city, and the city said, oh, well, you just call Chuck Goen. Some of you know him, he had a small engine shop, and he'll come over and shoot them. So I said, okay. And so I called him, and I stood there and watched while he shot every one of those puppies. At that point, I said, we can't do this anymore. So I volunteered. So then in the meantime, we got a shelter. It was very crude, but it was a shelter. But it was getting overloaded with animals. And so what were we gonna do? All we had was volunteers, and none of us were, I wasn't gonna watch any more dogs get shot in front of me. And so they said, well, Dr. Lang would kill them for us humanely, but we need somebody to take the dogs up there. So on Tuesdays, I took my personal car and rounded up the dogs that needed to be killed that day. And I would take them one by one out of my car, and they were, of course, throwing up and doing other nasty things in my car, which trashed my car every Tuesday. And take them one by one into Doc Lang's. We'd put them on the table, and he would proceed to kill them, euthanize them. And I would stand there and hold them while they died. And then we would each take a paw, or what, 2 paws, and we'd throw them into a big pile. And at the end of that, there would be a pile of dead animals, and he would dispose of them. And he did this all free of charge, which was wonderful. But at some point, I couldn't have my car trashed like that. So, the group advocated for having an actual shelter person work there. And there were 2 of them that I remember. One was Mike Gardner, who then was trained to do the killing right at the animal shelter and throw the dogs into a pile outside. And another one was Joe Amick. And eventually then that turned into a full-time shelter manager, Carolyn Arndt. And then she had made a little addition, and on and on and on, and you probably all know the rest of the story as far as where we are now. But that was the beginning of the Friends of the Animal Shelter. And our membership has gone up and down over the years depending on the issues. It was a larger membership when we were advocating to build the present shelter, and now it's gone down, and now we're getting more interest in it because of the threats of having a kill shelter or a time limit on how long an animal could be there. And so the Friends of the Animal Shelter don't ever wanna go back to that situation where we are killing animals because they are inconvenient for us. Secondly, or the next thing I'd like to say is that killing a living being because it is inconvenient to us is lazy, in my opinion, and irresponsible. We have as humans have been given the responsibility to care for each other and care for the world's animals. And killing them because they are inconvenient is totally unacceptable to our group. And lastly, I would say, why should animals be killed? Because adults can't be bothered to do their job.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the first, to an item on here, update on cat room architect. At the county board meeting, I had the, proposal, the resolution to move on because, we here at the Joint Animal Control Committee approved the selection of the architect after it was sent out for, RFQs. The Joint Management Committee also approved it and forwarded it to the county board. The county board approved it, at the last meeting on Tuesday, simply to, forward it to, since we've got all the approvals. I also have it on the city council agenda for November 27th, again, to get their approval, and then we can contact the architect that we picked, and can, proceed with that and start them getting going on the design for the animal shelter. So that was approved at the county board, and now it goes to the city council, and it will be on their agenda November 27th, which is, well, a Monday. Second thing, update on the building fund for the cat room addition. You know, we have the building fund as part of our, group of accounts for the animal shelter. And it's a non-lapsing account, meaning that it carries forward each year, it doesn't get closed out or anything. But it was originally set up just to accumulate funds for the new animal shelter way back when. And so they were saying we could not continue to use that one. But then they, decided that yes, we could, but the board would have to authorize it. So the county board authorized using the same fund and keeping the funds that were in there. And the building fund amounts we'll discuss later. But so they are going with, they are allowing that to go forward, to continue. So we do have the building fund again, and, as long as donations are specifically put toward the building fund, and you have something in writing from the donor that it is for the building fund, we can continue to use that account. Next item is phone policy for on-call staff. You have in your packet a proposed, county phone and usage for animal staff for on-call. Currently, there are two phones. One is, county cell phone for the animal manager, main officer, and then there is the public line, the landline. And there's been discussion about, or requests for about getting reimbursed for using your personal phone and all of these items. The proposed solution is, because if you have a phone for each one of them, that's raising, that's an added expense again, and as you know, we're tight for money. So this one says, the county will provide the animal shelter with one on-call cell phone capable of making phone calls, sending text messages, and taking pictures. The phone will be housed at the animal shelter and rotated among on-call staff. All equipment related to the phone remains property of the county. All policies outlined in chapter 12 of the personnel handbook must be followed. The purpose of this is so there's one phone, whoever is on call has a choice. They can either come into the shelter and get the phone and take it with them, and then return it after they're off call, or they can dial in and simply have the phone calls forwarded to their phone, their personal phone. So we're leaving that option to them. Just a caution, again, because of public records and people wanting certain records and everything, if there was an incident or something on that, if it got forwarded to their personal cell phone, that phone could be taken for any investigation, in other words, confiscated for any investigation or anything. But we are leaving that up to the individual person on call. But that way we only have one phone expense, one cell phone cost. And so it's up to the on-call person to either dial in and have the calls forwarded to their personal phone, or to come and get the phone and take it with them and handle it that way. When they're off call, if they had dialed in and forwarded the call, they simply take it off forwarding and then it just goes to that phone then. So.
Dial into who, the dispatch or?
No, the dispatch, both sheriff and city would have one number to call for on-call people. They wouldn't have a list of people and who's on call today and all that. There'd be one number to call. So if they had dialed in and had the call forwarded to the on-call person, then when their shift is over and they're off on call, they would dial in and unforward the call forwarding thing. It's quite simple. But, so, it's open for discussion. Yes.
Okay, so, excuse me, I did get an email from one of the, animal control on-call people, and she just wanted me to read this so that, because she can't be here. So, I will read. I would vote for reimbursing personal devices to employees who are requesting reimbursement. These numbers are already known by dispatch and have a history of calls linked to them if open records requests were made to obtain proof of calls, etc. People tend to keep their personal devices on them at all times, as well as keep them fully charged. Some people are single parents with strict budgets who don't want to be responsible for a county-issued device if said device were to get damaged, lost, or stolen. Personally, I do not want to carry two phones on me. What we are doing now works and has since the job was created. The only discrepancy is we are seeking to be reimbursed just like any other county employee who is using their personal device to conduct county business.
Okay, any other comment?
If,
Go ahead.
okay, so they've got to drive all the way out to the shelter to pick up the phone.
That's their choice.
Right, but if they do, would they get reimbursed for the mileage?
Probably not. I mean, that's part of their on-call duties.
What guarantees are there that the phone will be fully charged from one person to the next?
Well, the animal shelter can see that the phone is charged.
So it'll be stored inside the main part?
Well, the only issue is it'll have to be stored in the impound room,
Okay.
Right.
which I haven't figured that out yet, cause,
They can,
most of the animal control employees, don't have access to the shelter.
Right.
Just the phone.
So,
Right.
the only issue is if there's a dog that's disgruntled or something happens with a cat, that phone could get damaged in there. 'Cause sometimes we have animals that get out of cages and fly around the room, or the dog may jump, or the door gets slammed too hard. So there will have to be a way for that phone to be somewhere in those impound rooms where it's
Safe, secure.
gonna be safe and not get knocked down and where it can be charged. So,
I think the reason they wanted to get away from reimbursing for personal, because sometimes that is more than what they would make during the
What about,
month or whatever that they're on
what about
call.
the 6 people that are already getting reimbursed by the county? at this time?
Each department has their own policy. And our budget is, as you know, very tight, and so, further discussion.
I guess the only thing I'd have to say is that possibly a suggestion would be to get some type of,
Box,
container, or lockbox, where you can store that, on that plane, where the animals could not get access to it.
This,
Need to be near electric outlet, obviously, so.
this was to, again, save money, because before there were 3 or 4, cell phones, and they weren't the best from what I hear, the flip phones. And again, we wanted, that these are capable of making phone calls, taking pictures in case they have to send something to Dawn, or sending text messages and everything. And I think you said the flip phones didn't work half the time, or,
From what I understand, that they have got a lot of spam on them, and the service, for whatever reason,
right.
was not good.
Any further discussion? Anybody? Do you want to, I'll entertain a motion to adopt this policy for the on-call people. Okay, motion has been made and seconded to adopt the county phone, usage policy for the animal shelter for the on-call people. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Okay, motion carried. Okay, next thing is discuss, animal shelter answering machine numbers, and that was what you brought up.
Oh, come on. Someone would've called me, I would've told them. So the 2200 number is on there.
Everything's on there, we didn't, our phones, we couldn't figure out how to fix it.
Okay.
Cause they're old phones, so I had to buy 2 new phones,
Oh,
which
okay.
was fine, cause our phones weren't very good anyway, so
I've been on the site the last few days, but then,
the website was updated yesterday.
okay, and it's got the
Facebook.
hours listed as to when at this time call, dispatch, okay,
I
alright.
cannot update Facebook, cause I don't have admin rights, and I tried to go on the county website, update that, and I cannot get in, and I did send an email to IT yesterday. So the phone does say who they're supposed to call.
Sounds good.
Okay, so go ahead. Okay, we will move on to the discussion of no-kill / time limit policy for animals. This was brought up, by another board member, who wanted, I think the main thing was, how long do we keep animals? And if we have a need to bring more animals in and the shelter is full, I think he was wondering about, he was wondering about what is our policy on that? Not necessarily that he's in favor of that, but what is the policy that if we're full and there's animals been there for, just for example, 2 or 3 years, how long, is there a time limit? What do we do when people are calling and saying you gotta pick these animals up and there's no room to put them? I think that was the purpose that, did this. So, let's begin discussion.
I'm gonna pass these out, and then I'm gonna read this,
Okay,
so that everybody can hear me.
I've got more yeah.
Pass those.
And you guys. Yes,
Let me know when everybody's ready.
we'll take a minute to glance over it. think while you're glancing over this quickly, we'll give you about another 30 seconds to quickly scan it. Again, the person who requested this and everything is not present today, I don't see him. But this is an issue that's been a hot topic, and just to clarify the record, the Animal Control Board, this committee, was not proposing this or anything like this. This was brought up by somebody else. And I think some of this has been misinterpreted, that our committee was proposing this. That's not true at all. This was something that came up, and it's our responsibility to address issues like that affect, well, this goes to the heart of the whole animal shelter. Okay.
Everybody ready? Okay, so I handed out an animal exit little pie graph here. So I was just gonna explain, just the euthanasia part and the died part, because this graph does not specify why they died or why they were euthanized, so I just wanted to cover that really quick. So, 2 of the animals that were euthanized one was a dog, one was a cat, they were both aggressive. 11 animals that were euthanized had an illness or an injury that was not treatable or fixable. The died animals, 9 of those were requested euthanasias by public, and then 5 animals either died at the shelter or they were DOA on arrival. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. Alright, so I printed or made up a Russ County Animal Shelter euthanasia policy because, yeah.
I'm sorry, just a quick question. The died statistics.
Yep.
You said
5, well, out of the died, 9 of them were owner requested euthanasia.
So my question is then, when the owner requests euthanasia, does that mean they want no
asked
other
me,
option?
yes,
They don't want it to be
right.
put up for
They
adoption?
were, no, because most of the ones I euthanized are either dying or, injured, like they got hit by a car, and a lot of them I get is because they don't have an opening at the vet clinic. So, and I don't, when someone comes in and they wanna euthanize their pet, that is a decision that they've already made. Unless it's something like a perfectly healthy puppy or dog or cat, I mean, I wouldn't euthanize, I would take that as a surrender. These ones that are,
Insist,
yeah.
you have to do their wishes, right?
if they insist, well, I can give them other options.
Okay.
But if it's their animal, they own it, and they want it euthanized, then I will do that for them. I'm not gonna argue with them, I'm not gonna make them feel bad, but that doesn't usually happen. I don't get perfectly healthy animals that need to be euthanized. So that would be something very rare. Okay. So what I did, is I made a euthanasia policy that I'm gonna read it out loud, and I would like, hopefully, it to be voted on, because we don't have anything in writing that I know of, at the shelter or at the county. So I wanted to print this out and have this on record, and hopefully maybe have it voted upon. It kind of hopefully explains everything and makes people feel a little bit better of what is going on at the animal shelter. So, Russ County Animal Shelter will not euthanize animals for the reason of space. That is not something that I will not do that. So, I cannot do that. All animals in our care will be given the opportunity to find a home. If we determine there are medical or behavioral conditions that we do not have the resources to treat, and if we cannot place the animals up for adoption or find an alternative solution, we will euthanize the animal, which is the most humane option. The decision to euthanize is always made with the utmost consideration for the animal's quality of life. Russ County Animal Shelter will make every effort not to warehouse animals. We will make every effort to ensure that all animals in our care get adopted in a timely manner through social media posts, newspaper ads, through transfers to other shelters or rescue organizations, and word of mouth. Animals that are in the shelter environment for too long can develop behavioral changes due to prolonged stress or extreme stress situations. For example, aggression, depression, anorexia, self-mutilation, and separation anxiety, which is detrimental to the overall well-being, which can lead to chronic diseases, disease states, or illnesses. It is inhumane to keep them if they are not happy and thriving. If any animal at the Rusk County Animal Shelter ends up with these behavioral changes, we will euthanize the animal, which is the most humane option. Euthanasia is defined as the act of inducing a humane death. Euthanasia shall be injected by an injection as recommended by the American Veterinary Medical Association. Animal surrenders from an owner who has signed over ownership to the animal shelter may be humanely euthanized if the animal is deemed unadoptable. Animals that come in as stray or impound who are seriously sick or injured to such a degree that it would be inhumane to prolong suffering, and efforts have been made to contact the owner, or if a veterinarian advises the animal be put out of its misery, it will be euthanized. In all such instances, facts concerning the animal's physical condition will be documented in writing. Stray animals after a 4-day hold may be euthanized if deemed unadoptable. Impounded animals with an owner that has not come forward to reclaim within the 7 days may be euthanized if deemed unadoptable. Any aggressive animal that is a danger to humans or other animals will be humanely euthanized. Euthanasia is decided and at the discretion of the Rusk County Animal Shelter and under the advisement of a veterinarian when needed or necessary. Euthanasia is performed by the Rusk County Animal Shelter manager, who is also a certified veterinary technician, certified euthanasia technician, or a licensed veterinarian. All federal and state laws, guidelines must be followed when performing euthanasia and handling controlled substances. Licensing must be current and up to date, SUA every year and DEA every 3 years. No other employees at the Rusk County Animal Shelter other than the person listed on the SUA or the DEA license may euthanize an animal. And I am that person. So, if animals are gonna be euthanized, I'm the only one that can do it there. So, and I will not be able to euthanize animals for space. It can't happen. So when I took this job and I had an interview, after they do the interview, they ask you, do you have any questions? The first question I asked, the very first question, what is your euthanasia policy? And I did that for a reason, because I cannot euthanize animals for space. So I just.
Could I just ask what the SUA and the DEA stand for, please?
SUA is Special Use Authorization. That gives, the person on that, authorizes them to use controlled drugs. The DEA is a drug enforcement agency that's federal. That allows me to have those drugs in the building. They're all under lock and key. I have to fill out forms. I have every drop of those drugs has to be calculated and sent in. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You can tell them they're in a safe.
Yeah, they're locked up in a safe.
Okay, any committee members? Questions?
So what does it cost to euthanize an animal?
I guess it depends. It depends on the size. I know that there's usually we charge $50 to euthanize an animal. The cost of the drug is a lot less than that, obviously, because you buy it by, it's like a 200 ml bottle. So basically, you're charging for the solution and for me to do it, but, so it's not.
So it's not like you do it for free and it costs money, so.
Well, it costs money,
Right.
yeah, so they get charged.
I'm talking about the shelter itself, though.
Yeah.
If you would start having to kill animals and still cost money, it would be a free thing, because
Well,
they pay for the.
The other problem with that is, the shelter is only allowed so many controlled drugs. So that would have to be taken to the state and federal level to allow us to have more on hand, because we're only allowed, I wanna say it's 250 a year, maybe, that's, I'm guessing, so mLs. And, so if that increased, we would have to go to the state and, let them know that we need to have more. Because
Justify it.
euthanizing, you have to justify the use of those drugs. So, but it just depends on the weight, and I'm gonna guess, we don't, the majority of the animals that we get a lot of is mainly cats. So obviously, it doesn't take that much to euthanize a cat, but those are things that would have to be considered.
Is this part of our policy right now, or is this brand new?
This is brand new, because we don't have anything that I'm aware of that's in writing that I can find. So it could be somewhere, but
Can I make a motion to adopt this policy?
Certainly.
I'll second.
Let me second for once, I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion on this or anything?
I would just like to say that I hope that your first sentence in here would put at ease the concerns that the public has expressed.
And the first sentence was, Russ County Animal Shelter will not euthanize animals for reason of space. So, any further discussion on this? Okay, then it's been, motion's been made and seconded. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay, moving on to the,
Does this policy have to be forwarded to full board or?
I don't think so, I think that's our policy, I'll find out, we are the control for this, so we'll check on that. Moving on to the monthly animal shelter, or the animal shelter report.
I'm sorry about my job of sleeping at home. I was doing 6 things at once this week. I don't know if I have enough of these for everybody here. Dick already knows what's Just let me know when you're all ready. Before that, but yes, eventually someday.
Okay.
Everybody ready?
Can I just say something
Yes,
before?
yes, you may.
I'm so glad you put names to all these animals.
Oh, they always get names.
Thank you very much, because that validates.
They always get names.
everything, so, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, actually, except for this one here, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
CU 23,
One,
180.
he just came in last night before we were leaving. So that one will also get a name. So, we just haven't thought of one yet.
This gives me ideas for my kids.
Okay, so currently, now, we just adopted a dog out last night before I left, so I wanna say we have 54 animals total. If anybody wants to add that.
Cats and dogs.
Total. And actually, I wanna say 3 of those are in foster care. Okay? So, in the cat drop-off, we have 3 little kittens, and then the cat that came in last night. And then the playrooms are our community cat rooms, there's 4 cats in each, you can see that. And the next room is the quarantine, and it just says quarantine, but that's the garage. So I wanna know, all those kitties are in there, and, 2 kitties from back there will be adopted, at 4:30 today. The same person would like 2 cats. And then the regular cat room, which is our adoption room, which holds 8 cats. And in the dog kennel, we did, like I said, we actually got 2 dogs adopted in the last 2 days. So Bonnie is the only one right now that's available.
She's going on Saturday.
And they're coming Saturday to look at her, so hopefully she'll get adopted Saturday. She just got spayed on Monday. And the other 2 were just both impounded, so. And then, our foster care, we have Kitty Cat, and then Lily, and Ricardo was a 12-week-old little teeny thing that, I put in the foster care because it's actually a foster to adopt, they're gonna adopt him, cause he's so little and he needed to go with the family. And then in the laundry room, we have, Giovanna and her little kid Gia, and then we have Fiona and Fancy. So it's about, I think it's 53, or 54 total animals. She did, and we thought she was a boy. then one morning, thought it was a boy, looked at the tail. Well, she would let us. She was mad, and then, I don't know, she popped out a little kid, and then she was a completely sweet kid.
And what about, Adam that with Forest Lake and
He was adopted.
they adopted
Yep,
him?
yep, yep. Any questions?
What else for shelter, or anything
Um,
else
oh,
for shelter
yes.
operations?
So, we just did update the phones, I had to go buy 2 new phones, which is our on-call, we don't have on-call right now unfortunately, but, so we updated the phones so that when people call, they know to call dispatch, or if they have a complaint or concern, my number's also on there. I updated the website, our website, I cannot update the county one, because I can't get in there for some reason, I did email IT. Facebook, I cannot change because I don't have admin rights, which eventually we're gonna have to redo our whole Facebook page, but that takes time. And time is not something on my side right now, but it will be done eventually. The other thing is all the outdoor lights, that are in front of the dog impound outside, the cat impound outside, and the door have all been updated. And they're nice and bright now. Some of the lights were burnt out, they weren't going on when they were supposed to, and I don't want anybody getting hurt out there when they're bringing animals in, so. And then also, we did get a plaque from Best Friends Animal Sanctuary. I meant to bring it, and I forgot, I'm sorry. That is, saying for 2022, we had no kill status. What that means is that a picture? What that means is our live outcome, is 90% or greater. So it doesn't mean that you don't euthanize animals, it just means that what is coming in, you have plenty going out, and there's just, sometimes animals do need to be put down for humane reasons, okay? Some animals don't do well, some animals are sick. So if you keep within that 10%, you are considered a no-kill shelter. Which was really good, cause I think that makes a lot of our volunteers and our employees, you know, happy to know that we are trying to, come up with other ways. I mean, we still have to euthanize, it still never sits well with anybody, but, unfortunately, sometimes it has to happen. But I'm hoping that 2023 will be the same. We have sent out a lot of spay neuter vouchers, probably over 70, I think. I don't know if all those are used, I won't know till the end of the year. We also have, trapped, a bunch of feral cats, probably more than 20. Those were all paid for by other organizations. Rusk County did not pay for those, but we took them in, held them, took them where they needed to go, which I know people get upset about, but there is no need for 20+ cats running around the city of Ladysmith. Most of those were transported to farms, other places, and I think we have one of them left at the shelter, which she's getting adopted tonight with another cat, cause someone requested more, if we had any more farm cats. So she will be leaving, and she's spayed. So, so there's a lot going on, there's a lot of ways we're trying to stop. And I do write a lot of citations, I can't write a citation for breeding. There are a lot of backyard breeders in Rusk County, and they're under the radar because they're not breeding enough to be caught for not having, a license by the state of Wisconsin. But I will get to them. So I'm trying, one of them is already changing her tune, I guess is what I wanna say. So we are trying, it's just, it's a matter of time, and it's a matter of, because we don't have that full-time employee, I can't spend time on those things when I need to. So, but I'm hoping eventually, to have a Rusk County Humane Officer Facebook page, to where I can educate people on the laws, ask people to stop backyard breeding, that is not helping. That people that are, breeding more than the allowed number, which is 25 a year, they have to have a license by the state. If they do not have a license by the state's gonna show up on their doorstep to stop it. So, trying to do everything I can to, stop all the animals in Rusk County from coming to the shelter, cause I don't want them to come, I want them to stop being bred.
Could you remind us how much the vouchers are, you know, the public vouchers for people to get spays and
Yes,
neuters are?
so,
please?
for Russ County residents only, spay neuter voucher for a male or female dog is $100. The spay or neuter voucher for a female cat is $70. The spay or neuter voucher for a, male cat is $35. Basically, it's 45%-ish of what the cost is, depending on where they go. If they go somewhere where the fees are higher, then it's gonna be smaller, so.
And those
That
voucher
money
money
is-
can be donated to the spay and neuter? Is
It goes in
the-
the spay and neuter
neuter
fund, but
fund.
if you donate it, you have to put on there that it's
Specify.
for the voucher program. So right now, yeah, it's not, spay neuter is for Russ County animals only that are being adopted out. The voucher is for public, and you can make specific donations, but you have to put on there it's for the voucher. We get a grant every year that we use for the voucher program. We have people that have donated, individuals have donated to that fund, and then all of the aluminum can money goes into that fund. Yes, all of it, so, we get a lot of aluminum
How
cans.
we doing on those lately?
Good, I think we've emptied that thing at least 4 or 5 times since, or more. So we get about almost $400 every time they empty it, ish, around there.
Where is this, container for the aluminum?
It's right by the
cans?
shelter.
Oh,
It's
okay,
a big, huge blue square thing,
okay.
and you can
Between
just
the
throw your
dog
aluminum
park
cans in
and the
there.
building.
We ask that you bag them, yep, just because the wind, if they're not bagged, blows them everywhere.
And
But it's pretty
preferably
big, and you can put them right in there.
And probably, preferably crushed as well,
That's up to you, some people crush them, some people don't.
Yes, Jeff, you gotta crush them.
yeah.
Okay, anything else for your animal report? Anything
No.
else? That's it, okay. Okay, let's move along to budget review. Again, remember, this was through the end of October. And we've been over most of this before. When you look at it, again, the contracted services is over because there was nothing budgeted in that line, from last year for this year.
Did you request the sheriff this far here?
They have it, it's in, yes, there is, under contracted services, there is, I believe $3,500. For, yeah, I can put that up in a second. They did, the budget got increased for 2024, but it is, the amount was, due to that they increased the maintenance. The county allocates out maintenance to all the various departments and everything, so most of that, thing came from the maintenance, budget, under that, so it's a transfer, so it did, I mean, we didn't end up getting more money or anything on that score. So, just looking at this, running down, again, the biggest one, again, remember the animal shelter equipment, the 5,600 was for the air conditioner that may or may not have been struck by lightning. Animal supplies, animal shelter supplies, are over. We know about the gas and everything, cause that was taking care of the dogs in the beginning of the year and all the stuff for that. Running through there, animal shelter receipts, the second line from the bottom on that page, it's up to 11,000, so it's more than what had been budgeted, which is good. On the second page, I'll call your attention to the line that says animal shelter donations. People had been asking about, you know, if we want to donate money, say, to buy food. I mean, she does get like dog food donated, But if somebody wants to make donations for, say, well, use this to buy food for the animal shelter, so that would be for the operation. There is a line, and that is the line there that you see the $515 in, year to date. So if people wanna donate money specifically for operations, again, they're gonna have to state that this is for dog food, cat food, specifically for that, then that goes in here. Again, it doesn't go against the dog, cat food line, it just shows up here, but this is a revenue, so it reduces, the expenses overall or nets out. So that's something that we haven't had before. Again, just looking down here at the bottom, the amount due from the city right now as what we have here, there's $47,152.31 is due from the city for their portion of that. I think one other thing to say, if you look up above there, the transfer of the dog taxes, that's been the same amount, but I believe this year the dog tax amount should go up. Hopefully we should get more money on that. And then remember for next year, we increased the adoption fees starting January 1, so that should also help a little bit.
What is it like for cat licenses? Do we?
We don't have cat license.
I think city, that's on my list to
Right, the
ask.
city, and I thought,
Yeah.
I was told by someone that
I'm sure.
we should be getting it. Or is it going to the shelters?
Do they have
Just
licenses?
just be cute looking at them. It's like from City Hall and stuff.
Okay, so we are over budget on a few lines here, but again, we've got 2 months left to go, on that. Moving on to the next one, this is the building fund. Again, has been approved to continue forward. Again, this amount, 670.899. Remember, we have the carry forward fund balance, so we've got over 10,000 in there. That would pay for our architect for the cat room addition, let's put it that way. At the county board meeting, I got questioned about, is that the right size? Is it too small? Are we going to have to come back in another year and make it bigger? And I suggested if the city and the county wanted to put in more money for it, that we would accept that. And that didn't go very far. And the city. And so that didn't go very far. But I said the purpose of getting the architect to design it, I said, you've seen what we came up with our own sketch. I said the architect may change that entirely, and we may change then it was on to, well, what if the building should be 2 feet longer or 3 feet wider, or, I mean, that way. I said, that's what we're trying to hire the architect for, to design that and everything. So, like I say, that's moving forward. So we've got the 10 in here, and so that would pay for the architect at this point. The next one is the spay neuter fund, and you can see how much our expenses are way over what we had budgeted for expenses, but then our income is a lot more than what we had budgeted to. And remember, so just looking at this, it looks like we've spent about roughly $3,000 more than we got in, but remember, we have the fund balance carry forward of 36,000 from the beginning of the year. So we're doing good in that respect. And then, again, there's 2 months left. And then the final one is the gift fund. If you'll notice a new item on here, if you look at the second line, well, the first line, this bank fees, that is if people go through PayPal, there is a charge from PayPal, and that's PayPal's charges go in that line. If you look at the donation expenses at $1,191.55, it should ring a bell with you. That is the cost of the live traps that, remember, we approved specifically. There are certain items that we have to approve, being paid out of the gift fund. We already approved that $3,700 for all those special needs things. things that we'd already approved at a prior meeting. And so they have not been transferred yet, so we gotta make sure that gets done. And then you can see how much the donations are in and everything. So, again, just looking at this, year to date, we've got about 7,000, to the good. And remember, our balance carry forward is 78,000, and we plan to use some of that on the animal shelter addition capital. Because that's the purpose of the gift fund, is a special, projects or needs of the animal shelter. And again, we do have the building fund, but again, they have to specify in writing that donation is for that. So any questions on this? Okay, the next item is to review the bills, and we've got the bills right here. Are there any questions?
I was kinda wondering about the duct tape, the scoop, the first, what, Hooper scoopers? Yeah, well, I don't know Hooper scooper.
So we changed out, so we have, obviously it's an animal shelters come in with parasites. So if you're using, we only had, I don't know, 3 Hooper scoopers or 4 maybe. So I got more, so that we are cleaning each litter box with their own Hooper scooper, and then it gets soaked in bleach and water, and then we wash those, cause all you're doing is spreading germs.
Right.
And once, whatever you have, everyone's gonna get it, so that's them.
But this is just regular plastic ones?
No, these are metal.
Metal ones,
Yeah,
okay.
they're metal. And then the duct tape, we didn't have any tape, and so when we take the animals for spay and neuter, we were using masking tape, and it falls off, so I got duct tape, and I got, 3 different colors, because then it specifies if it's an unknown sex, male or female. So it's easier for Nicole didn't have to write all this stuff on all these kennels. She can put a piece of tape on there and put name of the animal, and blue is boy, pink is girl, and yellow means we don't know what it is. So, that's what we're just.
Any other questions on the bills?
And this one that, a little over halfway down about the live traps and transport kennels, what is a transport shield?
That is, okay, so, when you have animals, so we were doing, there's a lot of feral cats in the city of Ladysmith. So we have a transport, we have the traps, and then we put them in the cages, and when they go somewhere else, or we need to do something to them, we put them in this little, it's like a little white kennel, and we can push it in their cage, cause otherwise you can't get them out, we can't fit a kennel or carrier in those cages. So that's gets pushed in, the door goes, and the shield thing fits right into that. Say I have to euthanize one of those cats cause they're feral, you can't handle them, and that way if we get them in that, it's less stress on them. I can put this little piece of plastic in there, it has holes in it, and so if I do need to euthanize something, or maybe I need to treat them, or who knows what, I can poke them in the butt without anybody getting injured, so it's a safety equipment, yes.
And if you look just above what Tom was talking about, where you see the transfer, that 1,191.55, and you look over there, it's from the gift fund donation. And you just saw that as the expense in the gift fund. And again, all expenditures out of the gift fund have to be approved by our committee. And so like I say, we've already approved some more that have to be transferred that haven't been done yet. Okay, any other, questions on the bills? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bill.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the bills. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Alright.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay, our next meeting date will be December 21st at 8:30. And anybody else have anything else? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. At 9:44, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Okay, we are now adjourned. I would like to thank everybody for being here and wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.